Hello, my name is Adam Rifkin, and welcome back to Trailers from Hell. Today we're going to look at sex, drugs, and rock and roll, Barbra Streisand style, which may seem incongruous, but the second biggest hit movie of 1976 is all about that, and it's called A Star is Born. The 1976 version of A Star is Born, which stars Barbra Streisand and Kris Kristofferson, and is directed by Frank Pearson, who actually incidentally wrote the screenplay for Dog Day Afternoon the previous year, is actually the third version of A Star is Born. The first version was in 1937, starring Janet Gaynor and Frederick March, and was produced by David O. Selznick and directed by William Wellman. And the second version, which I actually think is the best version in my opinion, from 1954, starring Judy Garland and James Mason, and directed by George Cukor. The plot of the 1976 version, unlike the movies which follow movie stars, is set in the rock world. And the plot follows a self-destructive rock star named John Norman Howard, which is played by Kris Kristofferson, who's on a deep dive career descent of self-destruction and happens to meet Esther Hoffman, who is played by Barbra Streisand, who is a up-and-coming singer awaiting her break, and as her career soars, his career sinks, and drama ensues. The film actually has kind of an interesting cast of side characters. Paul Mazursky, the famous director of many, many hit films, plays Kris Kristofferson's manager, and later Barbra Streisand's manager. Gary Busey's in it. There's actually just a small role by Robert Englund, who would later become famous as Freddy Krueger. To me, what's interesting about this film is not the film that is, as much as the film that might have been. Originally, Barbra Streisand and her then boyfriend slash producer, and previously her hairdresser, Jon Peters, they both wanted Elvis Presley desperately to play the role of the rock star opposite Barbra Streisand. It's a very famous story that they went to Vegas, Barbra Streisand and Jon Peters, and tried to convince Elvis to play the role. The idea of Elvis playing this role is monumental to me. The chemistry between them would have been incredible. He would have been brilliant in this part. Kris Kristofferson is generally good, but nobody can compare to Elvis. There's some famous stories about why Elvis Presley didn't end up playing the part. Much of the reason is attributed to Colonel Tom Parker, who A, wanted too much money, B, wanted top billing, C, said as part of the deal that Jon Peters was not allowed on the set, but that he, Colonel Tom Parker, was to be on the set every day. And Jon Peters said that's absolutely impossible, no way. He will never let that happen, and so the deal was blown. And so everybody blames Colonel Tom Parker. It was also mutually, though, Elvis Presley's decision as well, not to play the part. He was concerned about playing a character who did drugs and drank and was self-destructive and was on a career decline, because he knew that there was a lot of press about him sort of being in that position at that time in his career and didn't want to confuse his fans, as he put it. Colonel Tom Parker's assistant, Bob Eisenberg, actually says that the main reason he believes that the Colonel didn't want Elvis to play in the film was because he was convinced Jon Peters was gay, because he was a hairdresser, and Colonel Tom Parker was fiercely homophobic, and he didn't like gay people, and he always made anti-gay remarks. Jon Peters gave an interview some years later and said that he had had a meeting with Priscilla Presley after the movie had come out and been a huge monster hit, and Priscilla Presley said that she and Elvis had seen the film together opening night, and that Elvis, after the film was over, cried and said that he felt that he had made the biggest professional mistake of his life, that he had wished he had done the film. To me, it's a tragedy that that film never happened, because I would have loved to have seen that version. And so forever on, we can only imagine what A Star is Born 1976 might have been had it starred Barbra Streisand and the king of rock and roll, Elvis Presley.
A Star is Born.